is what does the red arrow see? And it generates this image of the Golden Gate Bridge from that angle, which is pretty wild. So I have this image here in Oxen. Nano-Banana does take a bit longer than some of these other models. So let's boot up the other ones in parallel and see what they do with the same image. Let's try Qwen-Image-Edit. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Fine Tuning Friday with Oxen.ai, where each week we dive into some of the state-of-the-art models and put them to the test to see whether fine-tuning the open source models can keep up with some of the state-of-the-art models that are being launched by the labs. And we've really been going pedal to the metal these past few weeks, trying to support all of these cool new image gen models. So actually, we rolled this update out last night at like midnight. So let's all just like cross our fingers that everything works swimmingly today. But we spend a lot of our efforts here at Oxen setting up the infrastructure, all the storage, and all of the GPU compute to make it really easy for you guys to run these models and to fine tune them on your own data. So today, we're going to be going over a few models. You may have heard of the Nano-Banana hype from the folks at Google, or Qwen-Image-Edit, or even some of the Flux models. And there's three that we're really going to focus on today: Flux Context Dev, Nano-Banana, and Qwen-Image-Edit. And all three of these have a pretty cool property where you can start with a reference image and then you can add a prompt. And it's kind of like prompt engineering or context engineering with LLMs, but it'll take this reference image, apply the prompt to it, and add a silly hat or whatever you want to do. So a lot of these models are getting pretty good with character consistency and being able to take this reference image and generate something cool with it. I would say this isn't, probably didn't want his tongue out and some of the other things, but that's kind of like high level what these models can do. And we're going to be putting them to the test head to head with a bunch of examples. And then we'll be fine tuning Qwen-Image-Edit specifically because it's Apache 2 and you can fine tune these things on your own. And we'll see if the fine tune outperforms the base model, even with some of this prompting. Let's talk about the three models that were released kind of in the last month. I think they were all within the last month. The first one is Nano-Banana, or the real name after it was launched was Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. And I think the reason it was called Nano-Banana is because in its private demos on the like LM Arena leaderboards, that was the name of the model. So people didn't know it was a Google model yet when they were ranking the images against each other. So the real name is Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, which is a little less exciting. But if we want to try it out, I was thinking we could start with just like there's all these threads on X of like 10 things that you wouldn't believe that Nano-Banana can do. And I was thinking we would start with let's take those reference images, put in the prompt, and then run it through Nano-Banana, run it through Flux Context, and run it through Qwen-Image just to get a sense of like, this model does well on these tasks, this model does well on these tasks, this is where it falls over. And we'll cherry pick examples from like the Qwen-Image paper and the Flux Context dev paper, and then cross pollinate those examples against the other models to see if the cherry picked examples really work well for one model or not the other. This one is one of the more impressive ones that I think I saw from Nano-Banana, where the input image was just a map view of San Francisco and an arrow. And the prompt is, what does the red arrow see? And it generates this image of the Golden Gate Bridge from that angle, which is pretty wild. So I have this image here in Oxen. I'm just going to grab the image URL. Let's go back over to our models, Nano-Banana Playground. Did I grab that? I actually need to make this public data set real quick. Otherwise, you can't grab the image. Let's try this again. All right, so here is our SF arrow, and let's try the same prompt. Nano-Banana does take a bit longer than some of these other models, so let's boot up the other ones in parallel and see what they do with the same image. Okay, Qwen-Image-Edit definitely can't do the Nano-Banana style thing. And I think part of this is because Google just has an insane amount of data and probably are training on map views and street views and all of that kind of stuff. So that is a unique advantage that they have. I doubt Flux Kontext is going to be able to do it, but let's take a look. Find it. And Flux Kontext Dev didn't do anything to the image. So Nano-Banana for the win on that one. Let's look at some of these others, like you wouldn't believe it type things. Okay, this one's interesting, like an actor face swap. They're also passing this into a video model afterwards, so we don't quite have the image to edit to video yet, but let's just see if we can do like a quick actor swap, and I'll just grab these two images for reference. Actually, our UI doesn't allow for two images yet, so we're just gonna pass in the phrase Donald Trump and see if it'll be able to do that half. Any questions so far while I grab this image? Adding in. Nano-Banana. That one's, let's try it again. We might have just messed it up on the first one. Change the face to Donald Trump. Fingers crossed. Boom.
Wow.
Eli, did you just work some magic in the background? Love it.
Yeah, well, I think we're missing some mappings there.
That's my guy. I wired some of this stuff at like midnight last night. So,
Greg, in the previous images where you were asking what does the arrow see, what we saw was basically the other two models didn't even come close to answering the question at all. It was just like a variation on it.
Yeah.
Right.
This one just like made the arrow bigger, and then this one
Yeah.
removed the arrow.
So not at all Even
Yep.
not even close to the answer.
Yep. Now that we got this wired up, let's see
Yeah.
if it actually lives up to the hype. What does the red arrow see? There we go. I would love to try this with other maps and other arrows too. Okay, so doesn't work every time. Does look like coastal SF, but that does seem like kind of a cherry-picked example that went viral. Very interesting. Okay, so I thought the Ryan Gosling one with Nano-Banana worked pretty well. Let's try it with Qwen-Image. Turn the face to Donald Trump. See if this one has like as much world knowledge as Nano-Banana does. Okay, it's definitely Trump, but it's like a bit plasticky and not quite photorealistic, I'd say. Let's see if we can have that side by side with the Nano-Banana one. Just to compare, and then let's do flux context as well, so we can do side by side by side. Okay, yeah, the Nano-Banana, I'd say, keeps like the shading, definitely looks more photorealistic of Donald Trump. This one looks more like a caricature of him, but does swap him out. And Flux Context Dev doesn't know what Donald Trump is. So big miss on that one. So you can kind of get a sense like Google definitely has this data advantage here than the Qwen-Image-Edit or the Flux Context Dev. Obviously, Google is not open source and they don't have any fine-tuning APIs for this yet. But both of these models, Qwen-Image-Edit and Flux Context Dev, are open source or open weights, I guess. And Qwen-Image-Edit is actually Apache 2.0. So you can do whatever the heck you want with this model, which is really nice. Flux Context Dev does require you to have like a $999 a month license to be able to use it for whatever you want. So I think my personal opinion is Qwen-Image-Edit, if you want to own the model end to end, for one, it actually did the task here, and I think you could fine tune it to be more photorealistic. And two, you don't have to pay that license. So big fan of the Qwen folks for that. This one was really fun. This one is from Levels.io, if you follow him. And the idea was to go from product imagery to like a model wearing all of those pieces. This is also Nano-Banana, very impressive. Let's see if the other models can do anything like this. So we'll call this simple fit. While I'm doing this, is anybody using these in any like production settings yet or playing with them? Let's see what the actual prompt was.
Yeah, we have val integrations as of now.
Nice.
Well, they're very fast about getting models, but they're very expensive. Like they have the ideogram integration. It's like 20 cents for an edited image of yourself, like a character image.
Yep.
It's a lot to pay, and then you have to pass that on to
your customers.
Right.
Yep. Interesting. And then what's your end app? I'm curious, just while we're chatting here.
Still kind of in talks. Essentially create a character or a digital twin of yourself. If it's an interesting enough character, people want to chat with it, we split all of the creation and the chat revenue directly with the creator.
Cool.
Gamified leaderboards, and if it's a digital twin of yourself, say you're a fitness influencer, you can stop posting all of your stuff and give it away for free on YouTube and put it behind a paywall.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I think IP is going to be real important in the next few years.
Yeah, I totally agree. Part of the reason that we're helping offering this fine tuning so that people can kind of own their models end to end. Okay, so Nano-Banana crushed it. Levos.io was not exaggerating here. That's really cool. One of the questions in the chat was, I think it would be really cool if I could upload an image of myself and apply the like combine them, and you actually can do that with the APIs for these. We're wiring that up in here too, so you could have multiple input images. So you could, in theory, put a picture of yourself and say, put me in this outfit, which is pretty crazy. Okay, Qwen-Image-Edit. Her shirt is in front of her. That's I've never seen somebody wear a shirt like that, but that's a funny take on how that outfit would go. I think even her pants kind of are like that too. So didn't nail it. Definitely grabbed the correct items. And then again, kind of has this plasticky, cartoony look to the face itself. Whereas Nano-Banana, this is pretty realistic photo. So that one's interesting. Let's try Flux Kontext. Okay. Definitely wearing the things. I'd say this is a bit better than Qwen-Image in this case. The strap is a bit weird. But this one, it's also impressive that they got a full body shot for these ones and some like depth of field wearing the slippers or the shoes. And the bandana, I actually didn't notice. Yeah, no bandana here, no bandana here, bandana here. So Nano-Banana living up to the hype on these people images so far. I thought this was a really creative workflow, which I hadn't seen before, where you could actually do this in 2 steps. So the first step is prompting it to draw a line art outline of the character. So you go from this image to this image. And then the second step is taking a color palette that you want to apply to that line art and then apply that color palette to generate the next image. So I thought that was a cool workflow. We don't necessarily have to go through every one for that, but if you guys are thinking through your workflows and you're working with like different brand colors or something like that, I think that's super interesting.
Or just redecorating your house.
Yeah, totally. You could like take a picture of your house and be like, what would we look, or your interior, be like, what would we look like with a different eggshell white or a different color wall? That's a great one. And then this is the one that we're actually going to do some fine tuning on. So this use case is, product placement. So you take the image of this person, the image of the product, and have the person holding the product. So I think this is really useful for, advertising agencies, or you're building out your product catalog and you probably have a really good backlog of images being the company itself, but you might just have them on white backgrounds or like very basic settings. And so being able to just prompt your way to an image that looks like this is super powerful. So I decided that we would do, for the fine-tuning half of this, Yeti mugs. So let me give you a sense of what this data looks like. So if you're not familiar with Yeti, I love this brand. They make really nice like camping mugs, and just drink your coffee out of it in the morning, or you could be on a sailboat like this guy, just enjoying his coffee in the morning. So let's start with some Yeti product images. So I'm going to grab this guy, and oh, I think this is another private one. Is it? No, that's weird. Eli, just so you know, some of these image URLs get kind of funky when I paste them into the UI. Let's try this again. Oops. Nano-Banana. Back. Boom. Oh, that's not the one we wanted. We wanted just the product image. This guy. Yeah. Okay. And let's do turn the mug red, just for fun. And then we'll grab this and do it through Qwen-Image. Turn the mug red. And we'll do it through Flux. Okay, so Nano-Banana, pretty solid job. It's kind of like, that's probably the red that Yeti would choose. They kind of have these darker shades, kind of like you can see the blue. Qwen-Image-Edit went with a much brighter red, but definitely kept the branding and the nice like metallic shading here, which is impressive. And Flux Context Dev also did a pretty good job. That was a pretty easy one. Let's do like a mug sitting on a rock in a national park. See what happens. Okay, that's pretty slick. That looks like Moab, if I was going to guess. Nice. Qwen-Image-Edit also did a pretty solid job. And Flux Context Dev, I would say this one looks a bit more AI generated. But yeah, this one's pretty solid. And Nano-Banana really like nailed the shadows. Let's see if we can do like a orange. Chain a couple things.
Greg, what did you say was you thought was their trick with how they're creating just such good quality?
With Nano-Banana specifically?
Yeah, just in general, like what's their secret sauce?
Part of it, I think, is just being Google and having access to the massive like Google image search and all of those data sets that they have, especially with the map one. I was like, you guys have maps, you guys have Street View. That totally makes sense to me how you would have the right data to pre-train these models on to be able to do that. Versus Qwen and Flux, they are kind of limited in their pre-training data that they can grab. So here's a good example of like Flux Context really did not maintain the Yeti mug at all in this case. Even Qwen-Image, when you flipped the color, this is not quite how the Yeti logo is. This is a little more like protruded out, and it's a bit, you can kind of tell that was AI generated. This one is still pretty solid, I would say. That looks like Colorado. That's where I'm from, so I'm going to say that's Colorado. Okay, so then my next question was, if these ones are starting to look a bit AI generated, especially once you start doing more complex prompts, can we fine tune Qwen-Image-Edit on Yeti mugs themselves so that it gets encoded into the model weights what a Yeti mug looks like? And so what we did was collected a data set, and it actually wasn't even that big. There's like 17 rows in here. And I just grabbed these from Yeti's website itself. So I grabbed all the like product catalog images here. Oh, that's funny. They did have a red one that was a brighter red than the one that Nano-Banana generated. But anyways, I grabbed a lot of these control images just from their product catalog. And there's green, and there's silver, and there's white, and there's turn to the left, and there's turn to the right. And then I grabbed other ones so I could have these pairs, and I put a caption. So this is a bit backwards, but the control image in the middle is what we're going to start with. And then the image on the left is the target image. And then the caption is the prompt that we're going to put in to be able to go from the control image to the image. And so there's some fun ones like stacking these cups, or this guy's, I say turn the mug white and have it outside with a man pouring a powder packet into it. So some of these more complex, like multi-step prompts. And so how you do this from Oxen is you kind of prepare your data set like this, which could be like a CSV or a JSON file or Parquet in this case. And then all of these images actually just live in the repository itself. So we have this images directory and this references or reference directory that has all of the images, and then your CSV file or Parquet just references those tabs. So that's kind of what the data set looks like. And if you have a data set like that, you can come in, fine tune a model off of it. And so we have a couple different types of models that you can fine tune. The M&M stuff that you saw at the start was a text generation model, but we just added image editing and image generation. So image editing takes the reference image and does something to it, and then generation is just like no reference image. So in this case, we did image editing, and you can pick which input columns you want. You could have the control image. You could swap like the control image and the base image. And then there's some advanced hyperparameters in here that you can control, like the learning rate and LoRA and how many steps you want to do. Working on making this UI a bit more intuitive, but it's pretty cool. You can just go from one click to starting a fine tune here. And when you kick that off, it will go and train that model. I actually have to go to my local host really quick here to show you the latest and greatest, because like I said, rolled some of this stuff out last night. But if you come in here, this is a fully trained model. You can see all the logs from the training here. And then in this metrics tab, you can see the training loss, which for these image gen models is kind of all over the place because it's a diffusion model. So this one's not super important. But what is cool is we show you the samples as this model is training. And these samples come from these prompts that we put into that advanced configuration. So we have some prompts like turn the mug yellow, a woman drinking from the mug with curly red hair, a red mug sitting on a rock in a national park. So as the model's training, we're logging all of those images. And if you notice, we don't say anything about like Yeti mug. We're always just using the term the mug, kind of assuming that this is a model specifically for Yeti, and they just want like mugs to look like Yeti mugs. They don't want to have to specify Yeti mug. And so if we kind of look at the progression of this model training over time, the initial iterations do a pretty terrible job of Yeti mugs. Like this clearly isn't a Yeti mug. This one's definitely a mug in a national park. And then this one's definitely a curly-haired woman with a mug that kind of says Yeti, but obviously AI generated. And one of the cool things with fine-tuning, and you'll see this kind of in these ones. So let's say like a woman with curly red hair drinking a orange mug. Yeah, let's see what happens. You'll see the early iterations. Where did I have that? They do kind of have that plasticky AI generated looking, like you can tell this is an AI generated image. But as you go further and further in the training, even this, like from here to here, the woman's starting to look more realistic and the logo's starting to be more Yeti-like. This one, now I don't think she has that plasticky feel at all. Her fingers are kind of messed up here, but we're getting closer, like as we're training more and more. Getting closer, still having a hard time with the fingers. This one's pretty solid. This one's pretty solid. And then by the end, we're getting better and better, higher and higher quality. It's looking more and more like Yeti mugs. This one looks as good as the Nano-Banana ones, in my opinion. Same with this one. So you can see kind of the progression over time of this thing really learning the task and from your own product imagery. And I didn't even have any curly-haired, red-headed women in this data set. So it's really cool to see it going from this super AI generated look and feel to this like, oh, potentially you could use this in your actual product catalog. Yeah, Scott, you got a question?
2 questions in the chat, maybe more. The first question, why is training loss so unstable here?
It's not unstable. It's just the metric that we're tracking here. So diffusion models have this like flow matching objective that it's hard to get like you don't have like the loss curves that you have when you're fine tuning LLMs. It's really hard to like match this image looks exactly like this other image. So this chart just isn't super helpful in the context of diffusion models.
Awesome. And then Dustin asked, are you using the same seed during each generation in these samples?
Yeah. So you can set the seed in those advanced hyperparameters as well. I was using 42 for that one. Great questions.
One more. Are you doing a full fine tuning or training a LoRA?
This was a LoRA. So if you go and look, oh, is this the Yeti mug one? This should say it was a LoRA because I'm pretty sure, again, this might be a bug from today, but when you kick these things off, you can set the LoRA parameters, and I was using 16 for the rank. Okay, let's go back to this one just for reference. Again, curly-haired woman drinking from the mug. Again, I feel like it looks like those early generations, not super photorealistic, not super Yeti mug. Yeti probably wouldn't use this in their product catalog. But with the fine tuning, you can get to a point where it's stuff like this. So I'm pretty bullish on fine tuning, at least for now, and especially if you want to own these weights end to end. And then there's video generation models coming out like Qwen. I think really cool workflows are fine-tuning your own Qwen image model and fine-tuning your own Qwen image to video model. And the combination of those together can kind of give you like your whole end-to-end stack in Comfy UI or whatever other tools that you want to use. Within Oxen, once these training runs are done, we dump just like the safe tensors files to your repository with a commit ID. So you know the exact version of the configuration, version of the model weights, and the data set that was used to train that model. So you can track all of these experiments together. And we also save all of those samples to this directory too, so that you could always go back in time and be like, what was that one I did for Yeti mugs. Did I bump up the LoRA or not? So that's kind of some of the cool things you get with the fine tuning in Oxen. And I was pretty pleased. That was like the first training run that I even tried with the Yeti images, and it was only 17 examples, and none of the examples looked like this. So pretty impressive that you can go from one of these models to something that can even get the right shadowing and change the color to a color that it hasn't seen before. And yeah, I was pretty pleased with these results.
Greg, can you share how long it took for the 20 epochs and then estimated cost?
Yeah, this one took so we did 2,000 training steps. I'm surprised that we didn't put the time in here, but wall time, it took like 2 hours, and we're training this on an H100, and we charge about $4 an hour, so like $8 to do this fine tune. Cool. Any other
Yeah,
prompts
is that
people want to try?
standard? Is that standard for how long it takes to train a Qwen-LoRA? Around
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah, it
2,000
always depends on your data set size too. So like if you wanted to
Sure.
go crazy and get a couple hundred images, it would just scale linearly with that.
Okay.
And then yeah, it's just like GPU time for what the cost is.
What have you sorry, have you noticed anything with overfitting? Like anything to avoid when training on the Qwen model?
Yeah, I haven't done too many experiments with it yet. Like we got this all wired up last night. What I'd love to do is, yeah, plug that model or plug that LoRA in to Comfy UI and play with it and see if it can still do like the Donald Trump one, for example. And if it starts like tossing Yeti mugs in everything at that point. So that's a good experiment to run next. We'll do some of that and maybe have it in the blog afterwards.
So I mean, I'm definitely going to be doing a ton of experimentation on Qwen model over the next few weeks.
Cool.
I would love to work with you guys on, figuring out what is the best way to train this model.
Yeah.
Everything down to the clip. I would like to retrain clip.
Cool. Yeah.
We want to retrain some of these stacks that don't necessarily do. We don't need it to do everything. We need it to do some things very well, right? The smaller, the faster these models are, the more we can run through a GPU in an hour. So that's kind of our ultimate goal, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. Was it Qwen? Yeah, Qwen actually did train, or they used Qwen 2.5 VL as like the base LLM in here, which is pretty cool because that's an open source
Right.
model too.
Right.
So you could train the vision language model to get the encodings, and then yeah, maybe even train your own custom VAE. We don't have
Yes.
that like one click yet, but that would be, I mean, that's like a really cool use case.
Yeah, it's definitely what we'll be working on over the next few weeks. So
Okay. Yeah. Let's
cool.
connect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions or any other like images and prompts we want to try that you guys have seen on the Twitters or the X? See if I have any other cool ones.
Just wanted to see if there were specific VRAM requirements, like if it's possible to fine tune on a 5090, or if we need to use like, the H100s, Blackwells, whatnot.
Yeah, you can fine tune Flux Kontext and Qwen-Image. Flux Kontext is 12 billion parameters, and Qwen-Image, I think, is 14, if I'm not crazy. And so
20, I think 20.
Oh, it's 20. Nice. Is that Daniel?
Yeah, it is.
Hey,
Greg.
what's up? Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Recognize your
This is
voice.
my first one, so happy to be here.
Awesome. And yeah, with certain quantization levels, you can do that. A good library to check out is this AI toolkit. And if you look in their config examples in here, you can see like train LoRa Flux Kontext 24 gigabytes. And this has all the settings that he used for that. So I forget what level of quantization he used. Sometimes it's even like what resolution of images you're training on. You can also bump down. Yeah, see, he says like it may at 1024 resolution. So
it's
you gotta
just
play with those.
Ostrus's kit, right?
Yeah, Ostrus.
Awesome.
Cool.
Couple more questions in the chat too. Dustin, at what point do you think you'd see diminishing returns if you kept going, or would you?
Yeah, with like having more steps in the fine tune, or is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you can definitely get into overfitting territory if you have like only 17 images and continue down that many steps. I mean, a lot of the examples I've seen, 20 images, 2,000 steps starts to feel pretty good. And the more data, the better. So,
well, I was going to say, unless that's what you want, like if you're really training a very specific model.
True. Yeah, if you don't need it to do any of the other stuff, maybe you just go hard on that.
Yeah.
I did want to play it fair. I realized I had we were doing a lot of Nano-Banana examples and then putting that in the other models. And Flux Kontext didn't do as well, but I wanted to kind of like go backwards too. So let me grab let's see. Let me grab some data from the Flux Kontext paper. So they had this cool VR bird. I don't know if you guys remember this from this paper. And let's do Nano-Banana. And Flux Kontext had this prompt of the bird is now sitting in a bar enjoying a beer. Sometimes these models just like cherry pick the ones that they do the best. Qwen-Image did not do well on that one. Okay, Qwen-Image tried to put an actual bird face on it, which is not what we want. Flux Kontext did do pretty well. This actually isn't like the one in the paper. So you might have to play with the seeds and stuff, but I'll show you what their example looked like.
Has anybody had any luck with product and video and maintaining small text and small details and all of that good stuff? So, I mean, yes, we can generate a really great image, but if you need to actually put that in a UGC or a product video, like it breaks down very fast. So if anybody knows a solution for that, definitely is a $10 billion problem at the moment, if not a lot more.
Yeah. So as far as I know, Qwen-Image did train like on a lot of text data. So they tout, and not only English text, but since they're a Chinese company, like Chinese characters as well. And I think that level of detail that they trained on, I have done a few experiments, and let's actually run some real quick while we're here to see how well the text is on each one of these models. But I think they did a really good job of the pre-training data there. And I think a really interesting workflow that you could do is gather a bunch of data and run an OCR pipeline on it to verify that that image does have text in it. And then the OCR pipeline will give you bounding boxes out. And if you can get those bounding boxes and like replace the text with either a different font or make it smaller or something like that, then you could generate a bunch of synthetic data with a bunch of fonts. So I'd be curious. That's kind of what they did, Qwen-Image themselves. But if you had a specific, like, I want really small font to work really well, I bet you could create a synthetic data set that worked
Right.
well on that.
Right on. All this is hyper fascinating to me, man. Like the way that you can actually manipulate random latent noise over steps with freaking guide words, you know, and like attention guide. Like this is nuts. I love it.
It is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I come from a motion graphics background, so like,
Oh, cool.
so to have some of this stuff do what it would have taken me months to do, and do it in a few hours, like it just blows my mind.
Yeah, totally. We're actually based in LA, the Oxen group. And so going to the like comfy UI meetups here, some of the editors and film creators, they just have like the craziest workflows and it's super high quality. And they're talking about diffusion models and latent spaces and comfy UI graphs. It's really cool to see.
It's definitely fun to play with. If you guys haven't played with the Res for Life samplers yet, like those things are beyond super cool with what you can do with the Sigmas in the space. But yeah.
Oh, cool. It's called Res for Life.
Yeah, RES for life, like the number 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be on GitHub.
Okay.
No spaces, but yeah.
Maybe this will. Yeah.
It might be LYFE, RES for LYFE. Yeah. And no spaces. There you go. Yeah, he's like anybody that's into math. Yeah, Clown Shark Batwing. Like this stuff is hyper cool with what you can do with
Oh wow,
manipulation of latent space.
Really cool.
But yeah, awesome, dude. Thank you for doing what y'all are doing, guys. This is it's been cool.
Yeah,
Greg, it
no
seems
problem.
like combining this with 11 Labs models for
Mm,
voice gen
cool.
Yeah.
would be like an ultimate stack.
Yeah. One actually just came out with a speech to video model.
Have you played with it yet?
I have not. Have you? This guy?
One.
I've seen a lot of examples. There's a whole lot of really cool papers that are coming out. Just waiting on wrappers for Comfy UI. I mean, that's like,
This is funny.
cool,
Yeah.
bro.
You can go from an audio file to a cat, like lip syncing it.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a real big convergence of like 3D, AR, XR, all this kind of stuff around Q1, Q2 of next year. It's going to be real fun to see where these world models take it all and building hyper realistic game. Like, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all in for that. I feel like we're all like all of us coming and hacking on this stuff right now are a bit of ahead of the curve. So if you can get in
Absolutely
now, like it's the perfect time.
Well, like, what do they say? Like, luck is just opportunity meets preparedness or whatever.
Totally.
Yep.
Timing. Yep.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, that's about it for today. Hope you guys learned something or got inspired. And yeah, if you guys want to try any of these fine tunings, we rolled it out today. You saw us fixing some of the bugs live. So happy to like partner with you guys to help make this thing sing. But I think it's a really fun space to hack in. So feel free to reach out on Discord. Yeah, Eloy put another one in here. We're doing another one on September 12th, and we'll be doing the WAN series. So video on September 12th. That'll be a fun one. All right.
So much, Greg. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, y'all. See you guys.
Thank you.